advantages of using Revit is the speed with which you can go from a blank page to a working model. I've opened up this brand new project and I'm just going to remind you of how quickly you can get yourself to the point where you have the outer shell of a house created and the internal room structure in place. So from the Home tab I'm just going to pick the Wall tool, and I'll stick with the basic generic wall, click and drag. I'm not going to be too fussy about sizes here, I just want to illustrate the process for you. Go to the arc tool now, like so, and back to the line tool. And there we go. There we have our basic shell which can be manipulated and pulled around until we arrive at a shape that we're happy with. Just view that in a 3D view for now. Go to View, 3D View, Default. And so long as we'd paid enough attention to dimensional accuracy, we're now at a position where we can go to our floor plan and begin the process of breaking this shell up into individual rooms. Go to the Home tab again, Wall tool, make a point of picking internal walls this time. And while on one hand we've got the freedom to be creative and come up with any number of different permutations for different layouts of our house here, one major drawback is if we don't give it enough careful consideration in advance, then inevitably we're going to get to a situation where we'll have a layout that's simply not workable. We'll end up with misshapen rooms, we'll end up with tight corners where doors open out onto each other. Worse still, we might end up having used up all our floor space and find that we haven't left room for some important feature. So rather than a completely free and easy approach, there's a couple of things that we need to consider. The first most obvious thing to consider would be that before you go anywhere near the CAD package, you should really be sitting and thinking in the manner that any designer would, asking yourself questions like, what's the most important content, what's desirable content, who are the users of this building and what specific features are they going to be looking for. Those kind of questions will help you to arrive at a decent workable solution quicker. In short then, you should be starting the CAD process with a fair idea in your head of appropriate layouts already. There are a couple of different ways to take it from there. I'll show you the first one now after I've taken away this detail here. I'll just hit escape a couple of times to come out of that tool, and I'll draw a box over that detail, right click and delete. And rather than starting to draw on a blank sheet, I'm going to go into the Insert tab and I'm going to insert an image, and I'm going to navigate to a folder where I have stored a floor plan which I found from an internet search. I'll double click on the floor plan and find that I can paste that floor plan into my level 1 floor plan and resize easily. I think it's important to stress here that I would want to use this as a guide and wouldn't want to be restricted by this. This floor plan will give me a good reminder as to the type of detail and amount of detail required, and will give me good hints towards appropriate layouts, but of course I can override this and create my own version of this. Having brought this floor plan in, I'm going to go to the Home tab and pick the Wall tool again, and I'll begin with an exterior wall. I'll pick an exterior brick wall, and I'm going to click and drag, and there's my first wall created. At that I'm going to stop. I'm going to pick on that wall, and I have a realistic size in mind for that wall. I want it to be 20 metres long, so I'll click on that dimension, find I'm not too far away. I'm going to edit that to 20 metres, and the wall is now slightly smaller than the wall in the image, so I'm going to nudge that into position, and I'll nudge it in fine detail using the cursor keys. That's fine at that. So I have 20 metres here. I'm going to click on the image, and if I grab the handle, I find that the aspect ratio is locked for this particular image, so it's going to stay proportional when I resize it, and that's going to be really useful. That's just slightly too small, drag that back out. That's pretty good at that. So I can go back to the wall tool, pick up the same tool, snap to the end point here, and take that around. And it's a very straightforward job now to finish that off. Make sure I go back to the end point that I started from, hit escape a couple of times, and there I have a very good starting point to recreate a house from this floor plan. Another point well worth making before we go too far is this needn't have been a floor plan that was found through an internet search. This could have been my own work, which was drawn out by hand, scanned and then imported, giving me a direct link between my initial design thinking and my eventual model. I'll take a quick look at the 3D view here. Just go into the 3D views folder, double click, and there's the basic shell of my building. Go back to the level 1 floor plan, drag that back into position, home tab and wall tool, pick internal walls this time. I'll go for something like that, and at this stage I can choose to stick rigidly to this floor plan or make some adaptations. Very straightforward to follow that guide just there, and I won't go too far with that. I'm sure you get the idea. And of course something like this is equally useful when it comes to getting guidance for placing doors and windows, etc. It really isn't difficult to find suitable images online. A simple search under floor plan gives loads of suggestions, or if you just simply stick with floor plan, there are a large number of organisations out there who make floor plans available from, for example, companies with accommodation for sale or rent, or CAD specialists or builders, etc. Finding a floor plan to use in this manner really isn't difficult.